my intentions are to complete the arm, the upper portion here. So we have the elbow here. We're gonna have like this upper arm piece, and this like weird piece that I'm not sure what it's going to be. So my goal is to finish this here, and once the arm is finished, we'll be able to duplicate it and have it on the other side, and also have those the arms at the back are basically duplication. So them there, and we'll have a good portion of the character finished. Let's jump right into it. Um, get it, Marco? All right, let's do that. So let's start by hiding parts of the character. Important at the moment. All right, let's get into it. I was done with that mesh here last time. I think what I'll do is I'll actually create the remaining meshes for this part of the arm as a starter. So like a warm up, let's say. This little gray area here, I might actually just use something existent on the build up. So yep, part. Am I going to split it in two parts following this cavity line? That is, I actually might do help me to add some thickness to depth. So yep, let's go that way. Let's disconnect with gray part here. Take on right and it's masked by intensity. Let's hide and my intensities are helping me, so let's go by hand. This is another piece that I'm not really going to need to um, have the thickness. Really something of focal point. So this means that I'm not going with the panel loops again. Simply going to create a solid mesh that I'm going to sculpt. To a certain extent, I could have also just make this like a single. I could actually as a single mesh, and that little like indent here we can, or maybe in parts. It's not going to really cut right. So now that we have this masked back up, now we have. Let's delete as hidden. Let's if I do a close hole, it's going like this. But there's a way that I can actually have more hollowed by kind of like squeezing everything itself. No, it's actually all right. Let's just close hole. I will dig curve side. Well, I can just do it a little bit by hand. Thanks for the follow. Because I don't really care about the inside of that part. I just don't want it to be like that, I guess. Alright. Alright, let's put it all green. Dynamic shit. Value was 1,000. 1,000 seems. Right, and that's this part back here. But that's one. Collapse all the green part on itself. It's appearing. Say I see everything that remaining will remain to do. Sorry. And I might actually smash for going inside the arm or below the but the elbow. Smash later. I don't use. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Let's quick chair. Start by. Well, the general volume is there, so we're good for that. Let's work shape, shape as in silhouette. And the elbow, for last time, the elbow, I really make sure that it's placed, it's actually straight. So I know that if I use the elbow as like an liner, it'll help the entire mesh to look, because there, like I could take this mesh and kind of like make it symmetrical, which I could maybe, I could kind of like able to give myself a head start. So I'll do own it, simply bring it of my scene early. If I actually mirror and weld both sides. I actually prefer the other side, so I'll do mirror before mirror and weld. See that like this way, actually get symmetry. Sharon, just so I more mass, kind of like being a lot of mass the way this. It's symmetrical. Marco, qu'est-ce que ça veut dire? So not a piece that's going to be symmetrical. Bit of a head start. So it's up to insert what I just both. Right. There you go. All right. Perfect. All right. Why did I do that? I accidentally did. Strategy. I have no idea what I'm going to parts here. I really just wanted to make is not part here. Might need to just like sculpt some like random inner part of the mechanical part or aspect of this. Yeah, it might be a noise gate. Maybe I'm just not talking loud enough. Was that better? The way I'm talking right now? Yeah, it's probably the noise gate, and I was not talking loud enough. So all right. It's, if it continues, just let me know, and I'll remove the noise gate or try to reduce it. I don't know. I'll probably need to calibrate it. Hello, Kevin Art 3D. Kevin 3D Art. I just realized Kevin 3D Art, is it a play on word with the stand-up comedian Kevin Hart? All right, fair enough. So you know what I'm starting to think, guys? I think I'll be using symmetry to make that piece here. I just realized that there is not much asymmetrical aspects of this part, so I will actually work on it. Most part of it I'll work on symmetrically. So I will, what I'll do actually, merge to subtool better. I will actually clone it in the middle of the scene here. Temporarily this piece mesh. Basically just mirror and welding it to well centered. not orient back. Looks good. Separate. Oh, I forgot to add something again. Found this, but I need to also the synth muscles guide myself. How I should be. As we'll grab this part as well. Yeah, the rest is not. This time is a good one. Okay. Somewhat correctly. Oh, should be alright like this. Right. Right. So everything that's here is basically just what's around this piece, and this going to tell. So right now it's not going to fit with the synth muscle here, but I'm going to adapt it at some point for here, and yep, yep, that's what we're gonna do. Actually, save it under. Right from here. Polish it. I think I'll make it in. No, change of mind. Keep changing my mind. I'm kind of like seeing ahead how I'll actually be working on this. Uh, I realize I realize that some steps might get too complicated. And what I'm often trying to do is just make sure that I don't fight against the model with like in the best way, the best efficient way, I should say. Let's grab those two pieces as separate pieces. Close hole. I don't care for here. Good flow part. And with that, we're gonna be good. So green, all green. Dynamic shit. Dynamic shit. Uh, since the general volume is good, I'll just need to make sure that my surfaces look clean enough. Cleaning a mesh by hand, it requires not pressing too hard, brush, but really drawing in the direction of the surface, and then the opposite, this. But since this is like a narrow area, I think we're going to be okay with just like one direction for each polish. If you were to do like a more circular thing, then yeah, you might actually strokes in both directions. Um, hey, Yago, nice. Let's clip curve a bit to get save. At the same time, the clip curve is giving us a bit of a wider, cleaner thickness here. Not thick enough, so just a reminder, brush with back face. Pretty good to um, add thickness to mesh that might be enough. Same for, see like this part. Back face. Curveness here in the mesh. I want to polish it. Oh, see, accentuating the natural curve that was here. Well, the curve was a bit shy, so it kind of like felt maybe like an accident. But if you kind of double down on it, now it looks intentional. For people who play music, kind of like the same analogy as when you play jazz and you make a wrong note, but you try to work it in the melody, kind of like insist on it and make it really part of it. And just like the fact that you're insisting on this note might actually give it some more like meaning or intention. I should actually start to only give jazz analogy my 3D sculpt thing. It's gonna work with the whole like soirée vibe. I could put some like jazzy music and just talk about sexy trees. I don't know if it's the jazz that's doing this, but starting to get a bit hot. Yeah. Don't forget, if you really want to stress test the curve of your material, put this shiny material here. You'll see where the imperfections still lie. Especially if you're going to mechanical character, right? Like that's starting to be reasonable. Just like this like thickness here that's not equal to the other mesh, but that will work on this mesh first. Probably going to want this to be somewhat flat at the moment. It's not. See like this part here, but I want it to be wider. So what I'm going to dam standard, kind of like decide where I really want edges, and like this now I know I just need to kind of like work the transition to these edges here. Um, so this is why I say that like when I polish, I always create my volume first and then my edges and then my plane. Sorry, when I block, when I'm look in exploration and defining the main shapes, I'll often like create a volume and add the edges edges, I'll know like how I need to work the plane or work the shape to get to that edge. Uh, the mic is doing on off again. Um, is it still doing it, or it kind of stopped? Maybe I just started to. I'll just go in the filter and remove noise gate now. Look, I now I removed the noise gate and everything, so it should be much clearer. I don't know if anyone can testify to that. I've just turned it off. It's better? Okay, good. Good to know. All right. And for this piece here, I'm going to want to actually like have it like kind of like curving here, not being like totally flat. So this is something that's going to be important to reflect. And what I'll do is I'll actually manually work on the curve that I want to have. So I'll simply like pull around here, because you see like from the top you'll see that like the curve is not really good in that angle. Chaos Masons are communist. No, we don't have political affiliation. Are you saying that because there's a hammer and um, like the sculpting gear in the logo? All right, so you saw that like by just like pulling the shape and really having the curve manually, like I already get like a bit of like that curve that I want. Here it's not enough. And I know by actually just like moving the light on this part. So I'll go ahead and like a bit, pull it manually. I was in backface. There we go. So with like a bit of smoothing, I think that this is going to look okay for what I want. At least like for this part, I mean. There actually might be a bit of a dip here that I need to fix. So really, like by looking at it in many angles, you'll get a sense of like what looks like wobbly or um, unfinished or soft. It's really a question of always looking at like in many angles, and I use the silhouette a lot to see like the curve of the mesh. So you see like maybe here I need it to be a bit more straight, because you see it's kind of like, there you go. There you go. So by clipping this, you see I actually had some like too much of the mass going off here. Um, and now that I actually have this clipped curve, I can pretty much just smooth the edges, and now I get something that's much cleaner. Okay. So once again, often I'll create my planes, and then to get the right edges, I'll simply just do a quick smooth pass, really quick smooth pass with the smooth brush. And the smooth brush is also what's going to make those artifacts go away. So the brush strokes, it helps it to get rid of it. Okay, so the shape is good. Shape is good. I actually will create the final meshes for those items, and try to get the final polished look for those two pieces. So in order to create the final meshes for those, I'll just make everything disappear, create a duplicate of that, use Z remesh here at, I don't know, 0.5, see what it's going to give me. Yeah, whatever, that's respectable. There's like holes in this mesh, that's weird. And there's like a weird stuff right there. Let's give it a Dynamesh before doing a Z remesh. See, there we go. Better now. And I will reproject to get back my details. Well, the details. There's like just a slight sharpness that I lost, but let's just reproject. Oops, didn't reproject with enough distance here. I need to augment the projection shell a bit more. Do it again. Okay, should be good enough like this. Let's do the same thing for the other mesh here. Dynamesh this, Z remesh to pretty much the same amount of polygon. Alright, subdivide, reproject. Sometimes I change the color just to see like what I'm projecting on. Right now I'm really working blindly because I've been using that process for so long that I kind of like know when something's not working, what it's about. Alright. So now we have this Z remesh here. And I Z remesh my things really because I just find that like a topology that is not a Dynamesh kind of like behaves a little bit better, I find. That's my idea behind why I do this. All right, so now let's just make sure that they are really clean. I pretty much did a lot of work already. I'll get my metal material again, and the first thing I'll do is I'll just do a little polish here, just to kind of like maybe I could try a smooth instead, just to get rid of the brush strokes. You see, my surface it's pretty good. There's a bit of artifact right here, but is it really a problem? I don't think so. Maybe some smoothing here. There's kind of like a bit of, it's a bit bumpy around here. Yeah, so surface-wise, it's pretty good. A little H polish here just to get rid of the artifacts. There we go, that's good. Good. I actually am going to insert kind of like a temporary mesh here just to gauge So I want to make a good capsule shape. I just want it to be straight, so actually I'll I'll insert a cube temporarily just to what? I don't know why it's doing that. Okay, whatever. And all of that just to have this here. So this is really just, like I said, a temporary mesh, just to gauge the roundness of this piece here. So now that I have this here, I can basically just make sure it follows. There we go. So now I know that this shape is, although it's a bit wobbly here, but it does follow the shape of the capsule pretty correctly. And now that I have this, that is, I know that I know that I know is pretty clean, I can adjust like this line compared to this line now, and it just gives me the reassurance that it's in general clean. All right. Now the question is there some areas of this model that I want to be a bit sharper? Because right now everything is pretty round. There's some, like, I use a lot of like roundness to some parts, but I like to introduce a mix of round edges and sharper edges. So for example, like this one and this one here maybe. I'm noticing that my mesh is kind of like having a dip in this area here. Um, like it kind of like bothers my eye a little bit. Let's see if I can fix it by adding some volume to it. It's kind of better. Was it really worth it? I don't know. Yeah, I see like the roundness here. Having two planes was not the best idea, but like having there's like essentially two planes here and here, but like the transition is more curvy. I find it's actually richer. It's a bit richer in because there's a variation, but both actually works together. The edge I want a bit rounder though, so I'm gonna smooth it. That's good. All right, good. So the lower part now. The lower part here. Let's see what people are saying on the chat first. Yes, better. No problem, Pepito. Which of the character sculpt do you consider as your masterpiece, like the one you like the most? Oh, that's so hard to say. I'm never truly satisfied of my own work, so it's hard to answer. There's always like one thing I like about one and something I don't like about the other. Very hard to say. I'm still happy of the wasp. Um, I'm really happy of my horse, my Four Horsemen series, and I'm really happy about one character that I'm currently working on, kind of like in secret. At some point, I'll be able to show it, so that's exciting. Bonsoir, Gabroche. How did you make the web on the synthetic muscle? I show it in one of my videos earlier. It's with nanomesh. I'll have to keep that in mind. Yes. Hey Marco, if you allow me, how do you usually do the clothing or cloth part on your project work? I mean the geometry, the refined cloth mesh. The refined cloth mesh. Like you mean like for example like the clothing of the leg right there? Well, I one of my videos is I think the last one or the before last one is actually about that, so it'll be simpler. You just look at the video because I show it from A to Z. And for the okay, there's like this little like artifact here. Let's get rid of that. So to actually create the thickness between those two meshes, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a orb crack. So orb crack does like this, right, on the mesh. So actually going to use this to kind of like create a bevel between those two pieces. So that's the advantage of having those in two different okay, this mesh here is really annoying. Get out of my face. There we go. So back to this. All right, there we go. And now that once you actually have drawn it, you can use H-polish. And boom, there we go. You see here how like the thickness is like twisting on itself? I don't like that, so I'll actually need to cut it so it does like a more natural curve and not like this weird twist effect. So yes, once again, this is actual peakiness, but yeah, it's part of like how I like to work. I like things to be clean sometimes. And actually, I might be a little bit more anal than usual because since I'm showing you the method. There's a lot of things that normally I would let go, but like I like to show like a level maybe above what I usually have pickiness above, right? Just so I can show you the technique mostly. And for here, I want this like to continue here, so I'll actually use clay, which is a really great tool to create bevels or cut corners. See, boom. Now, do I want this shape to continue up here like this? I guess so. Okay, I'll make sure that the thickness is consistent all around. There we go. Yeah, that's good. That's good, 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 good. Let's cut here a little bit like this to make sure that this line and this line are a little bit more parallel. All right. Let's do a quick check, see if everything looks clean. Yep, it's pretty good, huh? All right, all right, all right, all right. So next, what I will do is I will actually just work on the edges here and this gray part here, as well as this gray part. Oh, I didn't bring the elbow part in there. That would have been helpful. So okay, let's split that in a new subtool. Let's save also. To have caught you live. Is this a new thing? I only see one replay a week ago. Oh yeah, it's every Wednesday. No problem, Lewis. All right, let's create the thickness first. Yeah, like this part is going to need to be reworked at some point to work better with like this area here. Do I do it now? Do I do it now? Or do I do it later and do a customized thickness? Okay, yeah, let's treat it still symmetrical. So I guess I'll treat those edges to make them look a little bit more final. Let's clay brush this one here. So I use the clip circle in this part of the capsule, and for the edges I just mask part of it and then clip curve. There's still like this wobbliness here, but I'll get rid of it later. So duplicate my mesh, and I will assign it the same gray as this gray here, and I'll put it metal gray. Boom. I'll duplicate this one also. Create a. All right. And if I actually just change the size of it, because both meshes are one on top of the other, right? But if I do this here, so now I kind of like have a auto-generated thickness here. I'm realizing that the thickness doesn't quite work, and I know why. It's because it's not flat enough. So what I will do is I'll kind of like do the same as the beginning. Squish this here, this like this, and I'll actually mask part of it and use move with back face to kind of like push it, but have it like being more flat also. Yeah, it's a bit working more at my advantage like this. And I mean, I could have also just maybe like clip curve it again. Let me see. It's kind of already better like this. Let's just give it a little H polish. All right. And for this piece at the bottom, it's going to be a bit of the same. I might actually do the detail placement after I've placed the mesh back in place. I just want to see it in its ensemble. Yep, see, this is going to work for the rims. All right. Yeah, and I'll work on this like inside part here really quickly, and I think it'll be done. So I guess whatever, just grab this part, split it, mirror and weld. Dimesh, thanks for the follow. Oops, symmetry. Thanks for the follow. but I'll want it pushed in. I went a bit too fast, and because of the weird shape inside, it's kind of like not really easy to sculpt the edges now. See, by adding some mass, now it's a little bit easier. All right, good enough like this. All right, and let's work on having this part of the bicep here fit. Oh, actually, no, I'll do that once I pose the character. Like I said, I'll place the details while it's posed. I just wanted to see it in its ensemble. All right, so let's merge everything. Do I have like layers here? Sometimes merging when layers are activated makes some weird stuff. That doesn't seem so. So all right. Oh, and everything is is it remeshed? No, this part here. Let's just dynamish it quickly to the lowest amount of topology. A bit of a weird mesh. Let's yep, a bit cleaner mesh. Let's project this. Here we go. Let's save this. Upper arm. Merge visible. Now we have everything neatly packed here. And let's place it back on my model. So you see well aligned with the elbow right there. Perfect. And the bicep part also looks aligned. And we are good. All right, all right, all right. So I can delete the green part here. Keep the inside. Remove what's not needed. All right, let's remove the body. And let's work on this here. So I'll put in two different subtools. The inside gray part. Oops. Delete subdivision, split hidden, reconstruct subdivision. Same thing for here, reconstruct subdivision. Let's save this file also. Let's call it shoulder. It surely is late in Europe and we really should go to bed, so definitely catch the replay. Alright. Good night, Gabrush. Is there a certain material you like to use when concepting, designing? Just a simple render, like I do all the time. A simple, this render cap here, which is pretty much like the standard gray material. I need to color stuff more when I sculpt. I'm sure it could help. Well, it's good for separating elements, actually. I love the Wednesday routine. I drink a little liqueur de verveine while watching the stream. What a life. That's cool. Yeah. So, cheers. Hello, Rhiannon. Alright, so now what I'm going to want to do is just making some space for the synth muscle here, because I never intended for this part to be truly symmetrical, but so now I'm just going to kind of like force it to work, and I'm going to try to be very brute forced with it. So let's go. So I'm going to hide this half and kind of like clip carve the connection here. No, not like this. So that could be good. Let's do the other half here. Actually, for the other half, I think that this muscle here, I could maybe put it in a little bit more. Maybe a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Should be all right. And since it's the inside of the arm, I will actually not be too hard with myself with the design of this thing here. Let's move the synth muscle just in a little bit. Same for this part. Now at least there's no clipping or things like that. And let's bring the gray part back and basically just do the same for the gray part here. I can actually even go really lazy and see if I can just kind of like sculpt it in like this. This is like super cheap, but might actually work. let's push the muscle more inwards for the rest. And also keep in mind that the way that I try to cramp everything like this is especially because I know that I might print that later. So I try to shy away from negative space, trying to make like everything somewhat like watertight. There we go. Starting to get pixelated here. If really during my final pass of polishing, if I see that really it is a problem for me, I will redynamish and reproject. We'll see. We'll see how the how under here looks like in the end. Okay, good. So you see that there's actually some parts that don't really work well with each other. Like the fact that like here there's like an empty hole. So to fix this, I mean, something I could do. Thanks for the follow, by the way. Something that I could do is like add like just like a circular like joint thing here, maybe. Let's duplicate. Grab those two things there. I just want to make a test. If I was to place them here, I'll need to make them bigger as well. Yeah, maybe something like that could kind of like work. Let's use this one instead. Yeah, that might work actually. So I'll duplicate it. one on the other side. So I'm trying to be like somewhat symmetrical, right? And actually this works well to kind of like hide this part. So what I'll do now is I'll simply sculpt things around just to make it look a little bit more like integrated with the rest. So for here, what I'll do is probably just dig the mesh in a little bit like this. Same thing on the other side. All right, cool, 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 cool. And I'll clip curve those things here. Hopefully I'm gonna have the good angles so it looks good on both sides. Ah, not quiet, but let's fix it by hand. Let's also relax the mesh a bit. For this thing here, I'll clip curve it a little bit in the inside. There we go. Cool. Looks like it's integrated to the mechanism. It works well. It's meant to be new. I mean, I'm gonna add like some weathering in the texture process, but not in the sculpting. I find that sculpting details on like this kind of like mech doesn't really work super well. I find that texture is always kind of like the better idea. All right, so the mesh are pretty clean. We're good. We got the elbow here also. That's uh, that's also a mesh that is pretty finished. So so we just need to work on that thing here, which connects both together, and that's the part that just I really don't know what I'm going to do. It's stressing me out how much I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I might actually just need to doodle a little bit and kind of like figure it out. Because the rest is there. The rest is there. Yeah. Yeah, I think I said it like in another stream also before that. I'm just really not looking forward to that. You see, let's avoid it just a little bit more by placing some IMMs here. This is me trying to avoid my responsibilities. It's kind of like when you know you need to clean your house, but you just see like other things that you can do instead and you just complete them. On it's like, oh no, I cannot clean the house now because I need to fucking like, I don't know, sort those papers or something else. I don't know. Maybe sorting paper is worse than cleaning the house. I don't know. Ah, I don't think I can avoid it anymore. I predicted the future, yeah. Yeah, after busy cleaning your sculpts to clean the house. There you go. All right, so there's like an extension of like this piece here I'm going to need to sculpt. So this piece is going to be a piece by itself. And here for like this, for the shoulder, well, the shoulder needs like a trim. Oh, you see, I can still avoid it. Yes. Let's work a trim or an edge for the shoulder. I think I'll just need to clean the shoulder a little bit more on this, on the edges, making it a little bit tighter though. Okay. By the way, since I removed the noise gate, noise suppressor thing, people can hear me better. I guess. Just want to make sure. Perfect. All right, good. I put a noise gate because I realized that sometimes when I drink, it creates like sap, like sapping sounds. Is it called sapping? Like that kind of stuff. And that's what I'm trying to avoid. So I thought that the noise gate would actually alleviate problems, but seems that it actually is creating more. Thanks for the follow. Alright, let's create a trim detail for this now. Not a trim detail, but I mean like an edge, a thickness detail. Duplicate once again, giving it gray for what is more like of the inside parts of the model, the unpainted metal. Let's move it in like this. I don't think I'm going to keep this part here. Alright, can I still avoid the unavoidable? Inevitable. ASMR. Thanks for the follow. Alright, I guess that we're here now. Fucking hell. Okay, let's just completely remove the arm of that section. Alright, I guess that we'll need to figure out what this is now. I'll try to have it kind of like conform to me, to the already existing edges. Would it look good if this actually kind of like does this? No. Maybe something with cables. I don't know. Wait. Wait. Wait a fucking second. What if it's like somewhere where like two cables actually meet? Yeah, light bulb moment. Bing. You see, like people are always asking me, oh, like how do you start a character? How do you do to kind of like, um, to like find ideas or like I don't know, get inspired or. And my answer is always like, you kind of like need to just like start sculpting and just see what like let your eye see something and then like once you have like an idea then you go for it and that sort of stuff. And that's kind of like a good example of it. It's like so it's such a small detail, right? It's just like this section that I was like, I don't know what to do. And just like by sculpting volumes and stuff at some point, boop, my brain just like thinks about something. And how does it think about something? Well, it thinks about something because I did a lot of like characters like this, and it just reminds me of like one thing that could actually work, a visual language or an element, that sort of stuff. Now the question is like, well, how do you do to actually like think of those things? And it's just force of habit, just by always doing it. At some point, you have such a huge library of like things that you can try. Um, it's kind of like working your anatomy. Um, Like at first you're like, you don't remember where like 90% of the muscles are, and at some point it just like you just remember like the basic parts, basic muscles, and at some point you remember like a ton of them. So yeah, no, that's the idea. Once again, for what's under the arm, I'm probably going to do some like bullshit mesh thing, not really like trying to do anything that really works, but just like having just like a volume there just to say. Or maybe it could be just a cylinder. Yeah, I think it could be a cylinder. Like just by drawing the shape, I'm like, probably just a cylinder will work here. And I have one cylinder right here, actually. So let's duplicate it. Let's, you know, let's use those. Oops. It's not super well aligned with the sphere though. Something like that might actually work. Let's test it. I mean, it's like I said, it's not the part like that's super visible, so I might actually just not be too hard with myself with this here. Let's cut this part so it doesn't clip in. Looks more integrated with. Alright, so I think that we actually might have somewhat of a winner. Yeah, just moving forward, sometimes you can find answers and sometimes you don't, but just the exercise of doing it will actually help you. Yeah, I'd like to have it printed as well. I'm actually still working on having the beetle and the mosquito printed, but they're especially for the beetle, I actually kind of like overdid it with the volume and everything. And if I want to produce the 15 inches size, the production and shipping costs are going to be through the roof. And I mean, like I'm talking about, like it's gonna cost so much. Like I'm going to have to put it to sale at such a high price that I'm kind of like, ugh, I don't think I can do that to people. So I'm seeing, and I'm thinking that maybe one solution would be that I will maybe only do the mosquito and the beetle in 10 inches, so the smaller size. That might be the solution to have them on the market for sale and not at a ridiculous price. Is just forget about the 15 inches. Because if you look at, I mean, for those who own my wasp, the 15 inches especially, like it's pretty big. It's pretty massive. So just imagine like how big the beetle is. Like for example, let's just look at those here. So those are like the guys, right? Okay, my character is kind of like hidden right now. So if you look at like how the wasp is and the beetle is like a little bit taller, but it's so much more massive. So much more massive. Well, one thing that's kind of reassuring is that I kind of feel like I found a solution for the thing that was troubling me. Like I find that like I have the main design thing is kind of like established. So I just need to kind of like find the shapes that will glue it all together. All right. Yes, yes, yes. That's probably going to be the shape. So now let's replace the the blocking pieces with the actual meshes. No problem, Treegwood. Okay, is there somewhere in my character that I have a piece that could fit here that I can just reuse? Some kind of like tube thing. There's like a tube here, but it's too small. This thing here? I might actually need to add some module to it, but I can try. Okay. Let's duplicate this. Bring it up. There we go, perfect. And I think I was actually, I think that used the same volume as well, so we're good. Okay, and now it's to have those cables coming in here, kind of like filling the rest of the space. So let's try it out. Let's save this file. All right. Tubes. So curve tube snap. Let's draw a tube here and another tube. Oops. Another tube here. All right. I'll assign them a material right now. Probably it need to be a bit thicker. Same thing for this one. So right now, the first thing I want to do is just make sure they kind of like fill the space. And I'm thinking that I might need a third cable kind of like at the back. Kind of like this, maybe. Okay, let's make them rounder by applying dynamic subdivision. Moving cables with the move brush like this, you have to be really careful because you can warp the cable, and sometimes if it's too warped, you kind of like have to replace a new cable on top that's not as warped. For a moment, I think it's not warped enough. I think I'm still getting away with it. I'm going to duplicate another one, hide it a little bit more at the back. Oops. So we're going to need to check the connection here for sure. But for the moment, let's just make sure that like I have my element that can fill the remaining holes. Yeah, I think that's gonna work. Sweet Jesus. Sweet, sweet, sweet Jesus. Thanks. All right, well, with the rest of the mesh, I'll actually kind of like chop the parts that I don't really need, and I think I'll simply do a Dynamesh. This is kind of like a transition, like a liminal mesh. All right. Dynamesh. All right. Move. Back face. What? This is the kind of mesh I'll probably finish in Dynamesh, and at the very end, I'm going to do EZ remesh. All right. And let's just, and I'm actually going to be I'm going to do the bare minimum for this piece here. Bare minimum. Alright, well, this transition piece here might be good enough. Let's look with the body, the rest of the body. Yeah. I'm pretty quiet right now. Really trying to get done with this this piece here as soon as possible. It's not giving me the effect that I'm looking for. Oh, that's more like it. Alright, cool. I guess that this piece now is ready to be remeshed. There's a bit of crap to remove from the mesh dough, or else it's gonna make some funky results with the Z remesh. I think that should be alright. Duplicate. It's taking a lot of time for that Z remesh. Let's just cancel it and let's reduce the amount of polygon for the Dynamesh. It's going to help the Z remesh to go faster. And then I'll simply reproject anyway, so it's not like if I'm losing details. I'm just creating the Z remesh from a mesh that has less resolution, so less hard to calculate for the algorithm. Still taking a bit of time though. Come on. There we go. All right. So subdivide, projection shell, better distance, project all, and yes, grab the polypane. Okay, distance was not enough. Let's reproject with greater distance. Perfect. Subdivide, reproject. So I have basically the same amount of resolution, but one is at remesh. Insert. All right. So for yeah, so we just need this part here, which is basically how the tubes will connect to each other. That's okay. Thanks for the follow. Let's save this. So I just need like a tube insertion thing. What did I use last time? Yeah, those things. But those are like much larger tubes, so I think I'm going to probably need. Actually, I could be just using the tip of that thing. Just duplicate it. Thanks for the follow. This and just have this. There we go. Something like that. Let me try something. Let's duplicate this here. Bring this guy here. There we go. The idea would be to have it's like 3 connector thing like this. Not really centered. Maybe that it doesn't really matter though. Let's try this. Placing this in the center. No, it was a bit off center, but still the intention is there, so I just need to do like maybe a translation like this. It could be okay, I guess. I might need to. Oops. It's kind of like starting to get a bit off to offset. What if I actually push the offset? Thanks for the follow. I'll probably need to have one of those things in there to act as the connector inside. Warframe. No, it's just something personal. I appreciate that you're confusing it with Warframe. Because I find that the robots in Warframe are pretty cool. After all, you know what? Kind of works out. And the little cable at the back, they help to fill up the space, so that works like a charm. Cool, cool, cool. Yeah, construction is pretty much all there. That's good. I can start detailing now. Oh wait, there's that thing here. I need to kind of like adjust this to All right. All right, all right, all right. Okay, save that. Yes, it's coming together. Actually, I find that I pretty much got out of my trouble zone, and the rest is pretty much smooth sailing. So yep, pretty happy about that. Let's finish this piece. Let's make it. Let's add the mid detail and the mid detail and the small detail. I can collapse that layer. I won't need that. I want to introduce some more roundness on the top here. Mm. Oh, the resolution might not be good enough for my details, so I'll actually collapse that, subdivide one more time, and then I think it's prettier without too much detail here. Let's load my alphas. And the procrastination paid off. Yeah. Thanks for the follow. So So by pushing the green piece, we can actually see the exposing the metal under, right? Well, the only question remains, does that look good? The strips might be a bit too big. Maybe if they're smaller. Yeah, that's good. Thanks for the follow. How did I get so good? Beautiful design. Thank you, thank you. How did it get so good? Well, I mean, 12 years of practicing. There's really no secret there. It's just gotta take the time. Gotta take the time, man. Um, I mean, I went to school. School really didn't teach me like how to get good. It taught me like the basics, which were extremely important, extremely important. But the getting good is really like the time you spend like learning, trying, analyzing, failing, trying again. But I appreciate the compliment though. That might be too much here. Oh, those lines are much too big. Yeah, I think that my lines are, yeah, like 14 max. That might be too much details here. Yeah, anatomy is always something we need to practice. Thanks for the follow. All right, some small details, and I think that's going to be all for this one, for this subtool, I mean. Right, so some detail for the inside parts now. So when you place the detail on those like borders here, they're usually called trim details. Not working here. Not working. New. Thanks for the follow. The resolution is not very good in that area, eh? Might not be able to put a complex alpha there. Just for the sake of visualization, I'm going to change the poly, well, disable the poly paint on the objects that I still need to finish to be able to say that I'm complete with the arm. We're getting close to the 3 hour. I really wanted to finish the upper arm. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. I might be a bit short. We still have some people. How long have you been working on this model? Uh, I don't know. I mean, I work on it 2-3 hours every week for this stream, so it's been a long time that I'm on this model. Usually models like this, they take me like, let's say I work 8 hours per day. So for the high res, the part I'm doing for a model like this, I'd say between 1 to 2 weeks. Where did you get your inspiration from? Are you a reference image guy? Oh yeah, I've got a couple of references from people on ArtStation, couple of pictures of insects because this is my insectoid series, so I get inspired by insects mostly. And yeah, just a couple of images. I think it's pretty much the standard, and I think it's a good practice to have. What games are you looking forward in 2022? Well, Elden Ring for sure. Absolutely Elden Ring, and that's soon. So hallelujah. So yeah, Elden Ring. What else? What else? What else? I can't think of anything. I'm pretty sure there was a couple of other things I was looking for. Okay, let's work this way. Tell me a game that people are generally looking forward, and I'll let you know if this is something I want to play. Sons of the Forest. I have no idea what this is. What is it? Yes, I think I heard the name. I haven't played though. I'm not a big horror game fan. I'm I immerse myself a lot in the games, and horror games I immerse myself a little too much. Back in the day, I mean, I finished Silent Hill 1, 2, 3, 4, and both, man, it was rough on my. It was rough. Oh, that was so hard. At the end, I was just like tired of being scared. Like my body was just not able like to withstand it anymore. And then I played PT, the demo on the PS4, and whoa, that was hard. I know that they made a spiritual successor to PT, which was a game called Visage, and I never dared to play it. Oh boy. I just saw like some playthrough. Like I think I watched Markiplier playing it, and I was like, no, no, fuck that, not playing that. So yeah, no. In terms of like our genre, I'm having a bit of a hard time. Let's say like games like, for example, Resident Evil, that kind of stuff. Like that is fine because it's sure it's scary, but it's not really that scary. I mean, oh well, there's the okay. I'm not gonna spoil anyone, but there's like the manor, the small manor in Resident Evil Village. That was rough, especially because I played like alone in the living room in the dark at like 11 at night. So I didn't really put the best circumstances on my side, but it was a great experience. It was really cool. What are Destiny 2, Witch Queen expansion? Destiny was fine. Yeah, I kind of like Destiny. I tried. I actually just played the second one though, but I tried it and it was fun. Yep, liked it. Is there any other game that people are looking forward to? I don't know. Swordsman X Survival, unfortunately. I know Black Myth though. That looks pretty cool. Looking forward to see more about that game. When is it supposed to come out? Two 2024. That's a little while, but every great things come in time. I just hope that the gameplay is going to be good though. Like I see a lot of let's call them Souls-like coming out and stuff, but man, I just feel that like nobody really gets the gameplay correctly like From Software does, and it like I think it like they have like such a good way of like doing like cutting edge gameplay and all. Plus, I mean, like every time they create a new title, there's like a new like thing added to the formula for the combat system, and it just makes it better and better and better and better all the time. Like Dark Souls was pretty cool, but then you have like Bloodborne, that was fantastic, and after that, Sekiro, which like the combat system in Sekiro, oh my god, that was some good stuff. Good stuff. Really love the combat system in Sekiro. Probably my favorite combat style from all the From Software games. I don't really know any other any Chinese studios, so I don't really know like what they do, if they're what they're good at and stuff. Thanks for the follow. All right, we're just missing the this part and we're done. We're already at 3 hours though. Maybe I can at least just finish it really quickly. Really quickly. Thanks for the follow. I have raids on. I actually, okay, so I am so new at Twitch. All right, it is ridiculous. It's actually a little bit shameful, but I'll say that I think I know what a raid is. Or are you saying, are you talking about the games that were, yeah, sometimes people get them off, yeah. Oh, well, thanks. I really appreciate that. Really appreciate that. So maybe I should say welcome to everyone that just came in. Well, thanks, Living Vertex. I appreciate that. I'm actually really enjoying this. That's fun. One of my friend bugged me for so long to start a Twitch channel, and finally I succumbed to his constant nagging. I hope he's here to listen to me say that about him. No, I don't like those shapes after all. Maybe if I just do him smaller. I'm actually switching. I turned my mesh just to do this action because I'm using a Cintiq, and the one drawback of the Cintiq, the only one that I really think is a drawback, is that sometimes you have your hands over what you're trying to work on, and you're kind of like hiding yourself. Not hiding yourself, but I mean, you're hiding your view of your work. Hmm. I'm gonna hide the body. Thanks for the follow. I'm gonna hide the body mesh because it's actually kind of like dragging my mesh on the side. That was maybe too much. Come on. Keeping my layer in case I want to transform a morph target and retry something. Maybe it's missing a quick little cavity line somewhere. Something like that. Yep, yep, I guess that's good. Just maybe a little bit deeper. No, I prefer what I had before. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. All right. I think. I think. I think I'm done for the arm. So since I'm going to commit to the details that I placed on the model because I'm mostly happy about everything, and what I'm not sure, I think I can kind of like erase it by hand and start it over by hand. Not start it over, but erase it by hand. So I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually get rid of all the layers on my arm, and I'm going to duplicate, not duplicate, but mirror everything on the right, on the, well, her right side. All right, so let's do this final tedious task, but that's kind of like my victory lap for finishing for finishing an important part of the character. Yeah, me too. I actually, well, it helps to kind of like explain things, I find. Um, I was a teacher actually for a long time in like one school, just for one workshop, like nothing big. But I always felt that when explaining and sharing information, it just made me understand it like better and just made me better overall at my craft. So yeah, no, it's a cool part of the job. Well, if he is, thanks for nagging on our behalf. Thanks, Chizo. Punk. Treated raw, but it's super basic. Yeah, try ZBrush. And thanks, Josh. Appreciated. So yeah, basically I work on one side of the model. Once I'm happy, I just duplicate it on the other side. Sometimes I'm going to make a decimation only, but in that case, I wanted to have the full model. One by one. Getting there. And finally, this blade. That being said, I have to delete the blocking here. I wonder if I can just do this. It might be too rough for the program to handle. Actually, I will also save just in case. I'll see if I actually can actually do a smart symmetry. Yeah. All right. Cool. Our arms are complete. I could try to actually like put them at the back also and see. But there's going to be like an adjustment that will be needed at the back here for sure. That I'm not going to work on tonight because I'm pretty exhausted at this point. But I like it. I like this character. Yay, arms! Let's do a quick test. Let's merge visible this. Oh, actually, if I merge visible, I'm going to have my dynamic subdivisions are not going to work. Thanks, Josh. Really appreciated. So what I'll do, I'll save it like this. Then I will open another one. Oh, it's getting so late. Oh boy, it's getting so late. I mean, it's getting so late when you have a kid that wakes up at 6:37. All right, so let's apply the dynamic subdivision on the few assets that I have dynamic subdivision. Okay, so now I'm on the leg, so it's fine. Do I still have dynamic subdivision somewhere? No, I do not. Perfect. Then in that case, I can do a merge visible here. So it's going to put everything on one subtool. It's going to be a pretty heavy subtool, especially because there's both sides. Okay, it did not crash. So this subtool is 20 million on one subtool, which is pretty heavy. Let's delete one side for the moment. Oh, it had subdivision. Thanks for the follow. Let's delete this to free up a bit of the memory. Import our merge arm in the scene. And let's see if I can kind of like quickly place it. It's pretty laggy because I'm trying to move a mesh that's 20 million polys. It's pretty awkward to move around. The arm at the back might be slightly smaller. There's also like a rotation I have to do on the arms. Are they smaller? Let's test on a layer. Yeah, I think they are. I think they're slightly smaller. Okay, now the rotation, that might be a pain in the ass though, but thanks for the follow. I probably won't be able to place it exactly on the blocking. Plus, I don't think that it's going to matter that I place it exactly on the blocking. But you see, like, it's basically I'm going to be reusing the same arm for the back. I'm just going to need to adjust like how those things are connecting here. And I think that I'll be doing that on the next stream. At least I'm going to start with that on next stream. I don't think it's going to take that much time, but I'm going to be able to start on the body afterwards. So that's good news. That's good news. Yeah, it's gonna look cool. All right, well let's call that let's call this done because Marco is tired. All right. All right. So there is no way to copy size or block and duplicate it or apply it on the arm. There is no way to copy size or block. And oh, I'm sorry, I don't understand the question. Ever closer. It is ever closer. We're getting there. It's such a long journey. I never thought that well, I mean, I'm working on it like 2 to 3 hours per week, so of course it's going to take time. and those things take time. 3D takes so much time. When you actually like polish it to this level, like, you can always create like really quick sketch and paint over and use ZBrush to go extremely fast, especially in terms of like concepting and that sort of stuff. But like the way that I go by things is I design my stuff, and I spend quite some time on the polishing, and always in the idea that like I could be printing it, and um, like I don't know, like, well, I said it maybe on other streams, but my intentions are to learn how to paint. um, I wanted to start that like a while ago. I got a kid, kind of like interrupted those plans, but I'm slowly starting to figure out how to learn that again. And I know how to model. I have the 3D printer, and if I know how to paint, I'll be able to complete the whole thing. So this is why I'm actually polishing my character to this degree, is that either I'm going to have them printed and sold, or either I'm going to print it for myself and paint it myself. So that's why I actually take the time to polish at this level, because I want to have a well defined, nice looking sculpture printed at the end. No, 6 hours, no. I mean, you can do like a very decent blocking sketch that can actually have like some finished look to it in 6 hours. But for a fully polished character, it takes more time than that. That's for sure. Yeah, I do. I think I'm gonna have it soon. The kid's getting older, a bit older. I'm actually working on having a workstation, like an art station for painting. Not art station, the website, an art station, like a place to work, workstation, whatever. So yeah. All right, let's call this done. I am tired. Thanks everyone for coming to see me work again. That was super appreciated. It's really great. I love doing that. It's really a fun thing, and I have a little while to go, so there'll be more of that. And at some point, other characters, other models, we'll see. But thanks for joining. Thanks everyone. Pleasure as always. Hey, no problem. That looks pretty good. Thanks. Thank you for that going. Yeah. Thanks for streaming. My pleasure. Hope to see you back. Thank you from the amazing stream. Hey, it's my pleasure, everyone. That was great. That was great. So I hope that I'll see you again soon. And otherwise, I'll upload it to YouTube, so no stress about that. All right. So I wish you a good night, and I wish you une bonne soirée, une bonne sculpt soirée.